Hey everyone, get ready for a captivating journey that will leave you craving for more.
From exploring the depths of our world to understanding the human psyche. Come join us on this adventure.
I'm Elizabeth.
And I'm Tyler.
And this is the Edible Attitude Podcast. Hello.
Well, hey, dear.
How are you?
Cold.
Yeah, it's a bit nipply out there.
Just a tad.
Colder than a witch's tit.
You're not wrong. Got down to like -10.
You did not factor in the wind chill.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm not. I don't believe in math and science.
I know you don't. You don't have to tell me that. I already know. You don't believe in shit.
But yeah, the wind chill was terrible. It got super chilly.
You got super chilly, right?
Yeah, well, I didn't wear long underwear or anything, so I was very cold. But today I did, and it was fine.
It was also warmer today.
Well, see, that's what I'm saying. It was warmer because I was wearing long underwear.
No, it was literally 10 degrees warmer today.
That's a big difference.
It hit a balmy 15 today.
Oh, I thought it was supposed to get up to a high of 12.
Yeah, and the sun came out.
I did see that.
Mm-hmm.
I noticed that. I didn't really miss it, but I noticed it.
How can you not miss this? Oh, I miss the sun so much.
I don't know. I'm just not a sun type of guy. Like, I don't need sun to not...
You would live in a cave.
Oh, for sure. I feel like I got more vitamin D in my system, obviously.
Obviously.
I just don't need the sun. I don't know why. I feel fine inside. I feel fine.
It's just because, you're so pale.
Well, probably.
You're very Caucasian.
Oh, for sure. From the mountain of Caucasus. That's where I originate from.
Is it?
Yeah.
I need my vitamin D. Pretty deficient in it.
Don't I know it? You get awfully worn down when you don't have enough vitamin D in your system.
That's bullshit!
Indeed.
That's also an app.
It sure is. But we don't have time for that.
I've used it a couple times, but it hasn't really helped at all.
No.
If I were going to use Indeed, I usually got a callback if I actually,
Don't ever apply on Indeed itself. Find the actual business and apply on their website because it
or
gets
just
lost.
go in.
Who goes in and gets an application? Everything's online anymore. Don't be old. God, I'm older than you, and even I know that.
I mean, I still go in. It's nice to make an appearance,
Honestly, they don't care.
I know they don't care.
Then why waste your time?
I just feel special when I do it. I haven't had to do it in a hot while, but still.
Well, you being you probably would make a difference.
What you mean?
You know what I mean.
I'm asking you what you mean.
Well, people know who you are.
I don't know what that means.
We live in a small town.
Okay.
And people with certain names have special...
I don't have a big name.
Mm-hmm. Well, people know you.
Great. I'm glad they know me because I don't fucking know them.
That doesn't mean anything.
I have no idea who these people are.
They know you.
Are you saying I'm popular without knowing I'm popular?
You're kind of a big deal.
I'm kind of a big deal. Sure. I'll take your word for it, dear.
The cat disagrees.
The cat's always disagreeing at me.
He doesn't like you telling him to F off.
Well, stop fucking around and maybe I won't have to. This morning he was all buddy with me.
Yeah, because you're warm.
No. He was laying in the sun,
Charging up.
And charging up, for sure. And then he was getting something to eat and he was just yelling at me. Laying down and yelling at me, which is odd.
Yeah.
He's just meowing the whole time.
He was just talking about his day. He's like, I'm so happy the sun is out. This is fucking awesome.
Well, I went over and I petted him a couple times and he was happy and then he got up and disappeared for 5 hours.
He was probably sleeping on the girls' bed.
Probably. But there was no sun in their room.
Oh, well, what do
It was
I
on
know?
the back side of the house.
What do I know?
I don't know. You were at work. You tell me.
Yeah.
How'd that go, by the way?
Work is good. I have no complaints.
You're busy today, you said?
Yeah, I was busy today.
Do anything fun?
No.
Why not? You're busy. That's fun. Better than what you've been doing.
Well, I had more than 3 emails.
Oh, you better pump the brakes.
I was 5. No, I'm just kidding.
It was 5?
It was 5.
Oh, no. I literally had a handful of shit.
Hey, maybe that's busy for me. You don't pretend that can't be busy. Maybe the emails had a lot of work entailed. You don't know me.
What? I have been with you for a while now. I think I know you just a tad.
No.
No, huh?
How was your day?
My day was good. I got some shit done.
Yeah, you did.
Yeah.
I think you should watch a YouTube video on how to put a dishwasher in.
I would rather leave that up to the professionals because I don't want to fuck anything up. And if I fuck something up, I'm going to have to fix it, and I don't know how to fix it. Especially if I don't plug in the water hose correctly and then water goes everywhere, then that's...
Where's your sense of adventure?
Well, I don't want to clean it up. That would be my problem.
It would be your problem, absolutely. Anyway, do you know what we're talking about tonight?
We are talking about magical little people.
That's not a way to talk about little... That's mean.
How does that mean? That's accurate. Magical little people.
Oh, yes, the Fae. I thought you were just being rude to little people.
No. Magical little people. Magical little people with wings. Maybe.
Do they have wings? I don't think that's ever mentioned.
The definition of fairies or fae or whatever to the majority of people is Tinkerbell. Like, that's what they know them as.
Sure.
Me, anyway. But I'm kind of a big deal, so yeah.
Yeah, you're just a Disney kid. It's okay.
I was a Nickelodeon kid.
Sure.
Me and SpongeBob go way back.
So these fairies to me are the fairies in Labyrinth that Hoggle was killing.
Oh, still they had
wings.
They had wings.
So they were vicious. They bit.
They were vicious. And he was spraying them with looked like weed killer.
Oh, probably fairy killer, yeah.
How humane.
Oh yeah, he just blew it at them and they laid down and Sarah picked one up and said, "Oh, it's so sad. Why are you doing that?" And then she got bit.
He was counting them like Legolas and Gimli do in Lord of the Rings trilogy.
He was very proud that he was killing that many fairies.
Yeah, but he didn't have anybody to contend with. Maybe he was trying to better his score from the day before.
Obviously. I feel like those are probably the mosquitoes of the Labyrinth.
Oh, God. If those are the mosquitoes of the Labyrinth, they would be everywhere.
They seem to be everywhere.
Well, just in that little area, sure.
We only saw them there. We don't know what else happened.
Exactly. We only saw them there.
On the outside.
Well, that's true. The Labyrinth is very big.
It is. And they don't need to keep showing the fairies. Anyway.
Fair enough.
We could go around and round all day.
That's true.
But let's not. Let's talk about the Fae.
Let's get into it.
A fairy, also known as Fae or fair folk, is a type of mythical being or legendary creature generally described as having human characteristics. Are found in the folklore of multiple European cultures, including Celtic, Slavic, Germanic, and French folklore.
It was quite a lot.
Yeah, and everybody has a variation, but I'm going to kind of stick to Scottish, Celtic, because that's just what I like.
Understandable. I also like their version of it.
I just feel like it's a little, I don't know, I like it.
Is it more Scottish than any of the other ones?
That I'm talking about tonight, yes.
But I'm just talking about in general. Is the Scottish version the more well-known?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
We'll see. And you guys can chime in, and that's, things that you've heard.
Fair enough. Let's get into it.
All right. They are a form of spirit, often with metaphysical, supernatural, or many unusual qualities. Myths and stories about fairies do not have a single origin, but are rather a collection of folk beliefs from different sources. That answers your question.
Okay.
Various folk theories about the origins of fairies include casting them as either demoted angels or demons in a Christian tradition, as deities in pagan belief systems, as spirits of the dead, as prehistoric precursors to humans, or as spirits of nature.
Good lord. They're just all over the place, huh?
Yeah.
Different versions.
Humans have always had to believe in something.
It's true. That's true.
It's just our nature. The label of fairy has at times applied only to specific magical creatures with human appearance, magical powers, and a penchant for trickery.
Ooh.
At other times, it has been used to describe any magical creature, such as goblins and gnomes. Fairy has at times been used as an adjective with a meaning equivalent to enchanted or magical. It is also used as a name for the place these beings come from, the land of fairy.
So fairies come from fairyland.
Yes.
Okay.
A recurring motif of legends about fairies is the need to ward off fairies using protective charms. Common examples of such charms include church bells, wearing clothing inside out, four-leaf clover, and food. So, a leprechaun is a fairy?
Oh.
Maybe that's an Irish thing.
Could be. That makes sense.
Fairies were also sometimes thought to haunt specific locations and to head travelers astray using will-o'-the-wisps. Before the advent of modern medicine, fairies were often blamed for sickness, particularly tuberculosis and birth deformities, which we'll get into later.
Oh, so if you came out looking like God's unholy creation, it was the fairy's fault.
Yes. Like the Hunchback of Notre Dame, he would be.
He'd be a...
Yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So you said tuberculosis also?
I guess.
Why that specifically?
Tuberculosis used to be called consumption because it would consume you and you would basically waste away. So maybe that's just really what it is.
That sounds like a form of corruption rather than consumption. But okay, sure. Consumption, I feel like, is if you eat too much.
Yes, you consume too much.
Yeah.
I gotcha. Yeah. In addition to their folkloric origins, fairies were a common feature of Renaissance literature and Romantic art, and were especially popular in the United Kingdom during the Victorian and Edwardian eras. The Celtic revival also saw fairies established as a canonical part of Celtic cultural heritage.
So they were just accepted?
Yeah. Well, that's how anything starts. Look at the Pope back, the 1400s when the Black Plague happened. He's like, all black cats are witches.
Oh, yeah.
Just one guy said it, and then everybody believed it, and all the black cats got killed, and then the rats overpopulated. So it really only takes one.
It's because people were scared. And
Sure.
It takes a...
I mean, it's the same thing.
Yeah, it's true.
So
It's
someone's
true.
like, oh my God, a fairy took my baby. Oh my God, they did, and then it just kind of takes off.
No, that would be some shit. Some lady has a bunch of kids and is
Yeah.
like...
I don't know what happened to that kid. The fairies took him.
Like 5 of my children disappeared last night. Like, oh shit, what happened? I don't know, man. Fairies probably. And they're like, okay.
Yeah.
Moving on.
Pretty much. I mean, what else do they have to believe in back then? They didn't. I mean, they weren't stupid for the time, but they believed whatever.
That's true. They couldn't exactly look through a book and figure out if it was right or
They
not.
couldn't look it up on Google.
Yeah, that would have been super helpful.
It would have been.
You know what's crazy about Google? Fun fact, by the way.
Uh-huh.
You and I are both older than Google.
Yes, I knew that.
I don't like that.
Google's only like 25 years
I know.
old.
But that blows my mind. I feel like it was around longer, but then again, I'm thinking of Jeeves and Ask Jeeves, yeah.
And yeah, I guess he was a precursor to...
Yeah,
to
absolutely.
Google.
And then Bing came along and thought they were going to change shit.
I'm old enough to remember a time before the internet.
Well, so am I.
I doubt it.
I don't remember. I didn't have internet for a long time. I don't
But
remember.
you had it in school, didn't you?
No. It was all...
That's crazy. Because by the time the late 90s came around, I had internet in school.
From what I remember, we didn't have... Like, the stuff that we did at school for schoolwork on the computer was all through just an application or a learning game, essentially. I'm sure there was some form of internet, but we didn't use it.
Interesting.
At least I didn't, anyway. And I didn't get a computer until high school.
So early 2000s.
Yeah.
2004-ish.
Somewhere around there. Before then, I had what is called a word processor, and trying to type on that thing was a pain in the ass.
I never had one of those.
Yeah, because when you typed out, let's say you typed out something, right?
Mm-hmm.
and you wanted to delete it, it wouldn't delete it. There was just a back button. You would have to go back over the word and retype the word correctly again. So if there was a mistake in the middle of a paragraph, you'd have to do the whole thing over again.
What?
Yeah. 100%.
Why even have that?
Dude, I don't know. It was before computers. Like it was.
But still, why? It feels like a waste of time.
And when it printed, like when something printed,
Yeah.
it printed with those serrated edges and stuff. So
God,
you
that's
had to make sure that the words like kind of lined up with the pages. Like it showed you on the word processor where the page would end, but you'd have to methodically figure out the paragraph to end before that page. Otherwise, it would jump to the other page, and it would look super weird.
Yeah, so you just had to figure it out. Like, unlike us, it shows us a break
Right.
when we do a Google Doc. Interesting.
Even on Excel, it shows you a break
Yeah.
when you go to print something.
It sure does.
Yeah, word processors. I hated that thing so much.
I'm really glad I bypassed that.
Yeah, you got lucky.
Anyway, we'll get into the legends of fairies.
Ooh.
Sometimes fairies are described as assuming the guise of an animal. In Scotland, it was peculiar to the fairy women to assume the shape of deer, while witches became mice, hares, cats, gulls, or black sheep.
Fairy witches? Or just witches?
They just said witches.
Just witches.
In the legend of Nakshigana, in order to frighten a farmer who pastured his herd on fairy ground, a fairy queen took on the appearance of a great horse with the wings of an eagle and a tail like a dragon, hissing loud and spitting fire.
That would be horrifying.
What was he smoking?
Man, he must have...
Well,
Well,
maybe he was just,
well, back...
moonshine,
Oh, could be. It could be that real strong alcohol they were brewing back then.
Yep. Then she would change into a little man who had a lame leg, with a bull's head and a gleaming flame playing around it. Yes, that's why I said, what was he smoking?
So he would be this demonic horse, right? Deer?
Yep.
It would be a demonic deer that...
Well, she turned into, there's the story that I'm talking about. She turned into a great horse with the wings of an eagle and a tail like a dragon, hissing loud and spitting fire.
Horse spitting
Horse.
fire.
And then she would change into a little man who had a lame leg.
Like
with a
when you got
bull's head,
closer, or what the
I
fuck?
guess. Who had a bull's head and a gleaming flame playing around it.
See, you say that, and all I can think of is the bull of Minos
Yeah.
from Greek legend,
Mm-hmm.
But he was huge. He wasn't no tiny dude.
Yeah, I don't know where this story came from. I should have looked it up.
Minotaur Jr., that's what it was.
In the 19th century child ballad Lady Isabel and the Elf Knight, the Elf Knight is a Bluebeard figure, and Isabel must trick and kill him to preserve her life. The child ballad Tamlin reveals that the title character, though living among the fairies and having fairy powers, was in fact an earthly knight, and though his life was pleasant, he feared that the fairies would pay him as their donation to hell.
Wait, what the fuck? What do you mean, pay a donation to hell?
Apparently they thought that the fairies had to pay a donation to hell. Because in the beginning they said that sometimes they say that they're demons.
Sure, but the fuck? What? Man, they had good drugs back then.
Yeah, sure did. Sir Orfeo tells how Sir Orfeo's wife was kidnapped by the King of Fairy, and only by trickery and an excellent harping ability was he able to win her back. Can you please learn how to play the harp, just in case I get kidnapped by the King of the Fairies?
Oh, this is some Tenacious D shit. Like, he played that harp like a champ, let me tell you. He shredded on that thing.
Yeah, you just have to find Jack Black. It's okay.
Could you imagine some dude knocking on your door, like trying to woo you, and he's like, Elizabeth, I have watched you from afar, and I just want you to know, I feel something towards you. I want to play you something on my harp, and then proceeds to put you asleep.
No, thank you.
I feel like a lute would be so much better.
That just sounds prettier than a harp.
Well, not only that, but like you could shred some major notes on there, man. Just flicking them wires, just going.
The wires, huh?
The wires.
Okay.
Gotta flick them wires
We're gonna
to woo the ladies.
We'll just leave it at that. Go flicking your ears. Oh my gosh. Okay.
That was before flicking the bean was invented.
That explains so much. Anyway, Sir Degar, narrates the tale of a woman overcome by her fairy lover, who in later versions of the story is unmasked as a mortal. Thomas the Rhymer shows Thomas escaping with less difficulty, but he spends 7 years in Elfland. So these people just get abducted and kept in Elfland or Fairyland.
So how do we get there?
I don't know.
This needs to be explored more. Forget the fucking pyramids and shit that are popping up all over the world. We need to focus on Elfland.
Yes.
Do elves live there, or do fairies live there?
Well, that's interchangeable. They also say that they could be gnomes. Elves, fairies are interchangeable. So
that's not fair.
My beloved gnomes could be fairies.
That's why I keep missing shit all over the place. We talked about that last week, how I misplaced something.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, that's right.
Goddamn gnomes in the house.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
There's a couple of them sitting on this ledge behind me.
There's like 4 of them.
Oh, my God.
They're looking outside. It's okay.
There's one riding a hedgehog.
There sure is. And an owl.
That's bullshit!
Demons.
A common feature of the fairies is the use of magic to disguise their appearance. Fairies also have their own gold, but their gold, it is said, is notoriously unreliable. Fairy gold appears as normal-looking gold, but when paid, it soon reveals itself to be leaves, gorse blossoms, gingerbread cakes, or a variety of other comparatively worthless things.
So you could attain a bunch of fairy gold and not sell it or give it away, but as soon as you do, it turns into literal garbage.
Yeah, basically. Which is the same thing that happened in Harry Potter. You know, when they went to the Quidditch match, and they were throwing out, like the Irish team was throwing out their gold, the leprechauns, and Ron stuffed all his pockets full of gold, and then when he left, he realized that it was all fake.
I didn't even get that. Like, I didn't understand that until just now.
Oh.
I didn't even realize that. Makes sense, though.
And that's why Harry ends up giving the twins a bunch of money for their store, because they were excited to use their money for that.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Fucking leprechauns.
Well, they're fae, too. All right, we're going to get into the Scottish folklore.
Ooh.
Fairies play a prominent and very important role in Scottish folklore from the time that every waterway, well, and loch had a name. These bodies of water had an ancient fairy that protected it. They are also important in rituals and are believed to be responsible for failing crops when someone has violated or upset them, and known to be onlookers of human nature.
So if you didn't have a good harvest, it's because you pissed off the fairies.
Yes.
How are you supposed to know? Like, you're just doing your job, and then one day, boop, they're all dead. It's like, well, what the fuck, you know?
So before you decide to go walking into the fields or forests by yourself, it is advised to educate yourself on the various fairies and their significance. So you need to just be wary of what's going to piss them off. You're just supposed to know.
You gotta read some books about this shit before you go walking in the woods.
Correct. Pretty much.
Okay.
You just need to know your shit.
Yeah, because everybody was...
Kung fu fighting, you're right.
Everybody was up to speed on the fairy lore.
Well, that's why they had the bards would sit at the fire and sing their songs that would tell you things. And then...
It's fair. The tavern is where you get all of your information.
Exactly.
You didn't need books.
That would be so much fun sometimes, but then I think it's so dirty and gross, and I wouldn't want to live back then.
Dimly lit, smells like shit.
Yeah.
Food tastes crap.
I don't know if the food would taste... Why would the food taste like crap?
Because it's not going to be fresh, I can tell you that much.
That's true.
But the music, though, would be fire.
Fire. Yeah.
And the alcohol would be great.
Yeah, bro. Don't you know?
I suppose if you drank enough of it, you wouldn't have to have good tasting food to eat it, you know?
You just get drunk.
Yeah. Everything would taste great.
It was just food. All fae had some sort of rules associated with them.
Of course they fucking did. Why not?
The first rule of Fight Club is we don't talk about Fight Club.
We just did, though.
Oh, shit.
Oh, God.
The first rule was never let a fairy overhear you calling them fairies. They do not take kindly to this.
You can't call them by their name?
You cannot.
What do you mean?
Well, they prefer to be called fair folk and are very sensitive creatures.
It sounds like...
So do not be rude.
I feel like they should have stronger backbones. They are tiny, though, so...
So do not be rude, or you might suffer the consequences.
Oh, how about that? What if you're just asking a question? Like, hey, Mr. Fairy, I got a question for you.
Don't call him fairy, call him fair folk.
Yeah, but what if you don't know?
You're supposed to. We just went over this.
What if he skipped that part in the song?
Oh my god.
What if the bard didn't cover the names?
Maybe you just say, "Excuse me, good sir. Do you have to call them a fairy?"
And then you get apples thrown at you and shit.
Yeah, throw an apple at you. Always be honest with a fairy, as they will know if you've lied to them. And not surprisingly, they don't take kindly to that either.
Okay, so don't call fairies fairies.
Correct.
And don't lie to them about not calling them fairies.
Or just don't lie to them.
Fair enough.
Okay.
Fair.
All
Haha,
right.
fairy.
Wearing the color green is also not advisable,
That's not okay. They literally live in the forest.
as fairies see this as a color that belongs to them.
What a bunch of dicks. Can't I be on their side?
No.
I like green.
No.
I like the color.
Me too. I enjoy it very much.
But we can't associate with them by wearing green, huh?
No.
What about something off green?
What is off green?
Like a yellow green?
I don't think they get into particularities.
Like just any shade of green we're talking
It just
about?
says green.
What about aqua? Aqua's green and blue.
Do you think they had aqua-colored clothing back in the day?
Well, you never know.
No.
You never know.
No.
They had dyes. You never know.
They did, they
These
probably,
are the things we got to ask questions about,
They
okay?
probably didn't even know what the color aqua was.
Aqua.
Aqua.
Water.
Water.
Agua.
They
Same
just
thing.
called it blue.
How do you know they called it blue? They
Oh my
They
God.
could have called it like ocean current or something.
I'm sure they did. Absolutely, I agree.
Just like the macaroni and cheese crayon that we got in that 64 pack of crayons. There was a color called mac and cheese.
You're
It
crazy.
was the best one.
Why? Because it was yellow?
No,
and
because it was called mac and cheese.
Yeah, I figured. All right, so don't wear green.
Don't wear green.
But you will be relieved to know that not all fairies are impatient when it comes to humans, and some even try to avoid us at all costs. Fairies are said to be the balance between good and evil.
Okay, so there's the balance between good and evil,
Mm-hmm.
and you can't wear green,
Correct.
and you can't call them fairies,
And you can't lie to them.
and you can't lie to them.
Right.
And they might be demons.
Correct.
Or angels, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Just
There's a lot of rules.
Just say yes. Mm-hmm.
just nod my head.
Yes. It's very confusing, yet it's not
Smile and
confusing.
wave, boys. Smile and wave.
It's confusing, yet it's not. It's just, you know.
Look, this just feels like school. There's a lot of goddamn rules, and I don't like it.
Well, it's a good thing we more than likely will not come upon a fairy.
How do you know? They could be
Have you
the
ever
gnomes.
Have you ever come across a fairy ring?
A fairy ring?
Yeah, do you know what a fairy ring is?
In video games, I have.
Okay, then what is it in a video game?
So in the video game, it's literally just a ring of rocks around this stump, essentially,
Mhm.
with like moss and little trees growing out of it, and it's like a place where fairies gather.
Yeah, it can be that, or it can be. Sometimes there's a ring of like mushrooms or flowers
Okay.
or something like that. Yeah, that's just a fairy ring.
All right,
Hmm.
we should make one.
We should. That'd be fun.
That'd be cool. I'd have to mow around it though.
We have that stump out there.
We do. You're right. It's awfully big. We got to put moss on it.
Wish we could cut it down a little bit more. Not all fairies are the same.
I'm sure not.
Well, there are some. There's the ash rays, for instance. They're water dwellers. And the Black Angus fairies are better known as the fairy dogs.
Are they okay with the color green if they're in the water?
Maybe they don't like blue. I don't have that information.
Oh, you just can't wear any specific colors.
You need
just
to be
gotta,
naked.
You just gotta wear black or brown.
Well, I don't even know if brown would be okay.
Oh,
Yeah, I don't know.
hmm.
Not all fairies take on human form, such as the boobry,
The boobery.
who are water birds that are able to live on land and in water. Fin folk also live in bodies of water and are affectionately known as sea gardeners and will not make contact with humans. Coming across folk like brownies, gnomes, heather pixies, and sealy courts can be a very rewarding and magical experience, as most of these fairies enjoy being mischievous, shy, and friendly.
How is it rewarding? Because they're friendly?
I guess.
Just saying hi? Like, hey, what's up? I'm gonna steal your chair or candles.
They say that your crops can go bad.
Sure.
Bad luck happens if you're mean to fairies.
Yeah.
So if you're not, then you can maybe have a fairy friend.
That would be cool.
Yeah.
Pretty sure one of those Tinkerbell movies has that.
Oh yes, I watch that quite a bit. Hmm.
I don't know which one that is, but I've seen something on TV that the girls were watching.
Tinkerbell and I don't remember. There was like 4 or 5 movies, and I've watched every single one of them multiple times.
Oh, good.
I know.
So you're somewhat of an expert on fairies, huh?
A little bit, maybe. I don't know.
Okay.
Unfortunately, the same cannot be said for the Gui-Doo, or the Gilly-Doo, the Kelpies, the Na-Clavi, or the Fachin. Most of these fairies dislike humans intensely, and an encounter with one of these folk could end badly.
Do they swarm like bees?
I don't know.
I feel like that's what would happen. One would blow a small horn, and you'd be like, what the fuck is that? And then all of a sudden there's a swarm of fairies, and you're just literally beating them off with a stick.
Kind of like bees.
Kind of like bees.
Don't jump in the water.
Yeah, because there's more fairies in there, apparently.
Right? They don't like humans. Stay away. Some will fool you with comical antics. Some will lure you with beauty. And some will just plainly let you know how they feel about a human intrusion.
I would rather have that.
Get the fuck away. I don't like you.
Yeah.
Okay.
Be like, all right, man. Well,
fair enough.
Here's a donation to your cause, whatever that cause may be. You can have fun. Bye.
Goodbye. In general, fairies are extremely private and see any invasion of their privacy or space as an act that can be avenged by taking away a human sight, bringing illness, or destroying their crops.
You just poke some bitch's eye out, huh?
Yeah.
That's not cool.
As long as you stick to the rules, respect the fairies, and do not enrage anyone, you should be safe on the Scottish plains.
Look, I feel like it's super hard not to piss anybody off, back then.
That's very true.
Because you could say the wrong thing at any time and they just stab you and you'd be like,
or you'd be burned at the stake.
Yeah, or that. Or that. That's entirely possible.
Mm-hmm. But on second thought, maybe take a fairy reference book just to be safe. So when we go to Scotland...
Oh, there were books.
I don't know. Maybe there are now.
Oh,
I think this is just referencing now.
Oh, okay.
We've got to take a reference book when we go, just so we don't piss anybody off.
Okay.
Okay.
I got to find a fairy reference book, apparently.
We got time. We're not going to go for 4 more years, right?
Google, here we go.
If you are enjoying this topic and you would like to talk more about it,
you can find us at Edible Attitude or at Edible Attitude Podcast
on Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram. So, fairy on the Isle of Man, which is basically northern Scotland.
What is it, a small island just right off the coast? It's not very far away from it.
No, it's just off the coast.
Do you know...
But it's very remote.
Do you know why they call it the Isle of Man? I heard it's beautiful over there,
I've heard it's beautiful, too. No, I don't know why it's called the Isle of Man. I'm sure I've heard why, but I don't retain that information.
You know what? I could definitely see some dude, challenging his friend to row a boat over there, and then he does and plants a flag, and he goes, "This is the Isle of Man." I could totally see that happening. And they're like, "Fine, gotta tell the government. Or the king, or whatever." And then the dude's like, "All right, that sounds good." Whoever the king was at the time. Or queen, whatever.
Yeah, not true. The Isle of Man had a wide collection of myths and superstitions concerning fairies, and numerous folk tales have been collected concerning supposed changelings. Sophia Morrison, in her Manx Fairy Tales, includes a tale of a child supposedly swapped by the fairies for a loud and unruly fairy child. The English poet and topographer George Waldron, who also lived on the Isle of Man during the early 18th century, cites a tale of reputed changeling that was shown to him, possibly a child with an inherited genetic disorder.
Poor kid.
And he goes on to say this. This is a quote from Mr. George Waldron. "Nothing under heaven could have a more beautiful face, but though between 5 and 6 years old and seemingly healthy, he was so far from being able to walk or stand that he could not so much as move any one joint. His limbs were vastly long for his age, but smaller than an infant of 6 months. His complexion was perfectly delicate, and he had the finest hair in the world. He never spoke, nor cried, ate scarcely anything, and was very seldom seen to smile. But if anyone called him a fairy elf, he would frown and fix his eyes so earnestly on those who said it, as if he would look through them. His mother, or at least his supposed mother, being very poor, frequently went out a-charing, and left him a whole day together. The neighbors, out of curiosity, have often looked in the window to see how he behaved when alone, which, whenever they did, they were sure to find him laughing and in the utmost delight. This made them judge that he was not without company more pleasing to him than any mortals could be, And what made this conjecture seem the more reasonable was that if he were left ever so dirty, the woman at her return saw him with a clean face, his hair combed in the utmost exactness and nicety. So in the 1700s, they believed in that.
He was probably happy being alone because no one was frickin' talking to him about his elfness, his fairy elfness.
They just saw what they wanted to see.
Well, he probably was happy. He's like, thank God everybody's gone. I can be in peace with my disability by myself. Everybody else can fuck off, quite frankly. I mean, he probably didn't feel that way, but you never know. Or he was just playing with a toy.
Or maybe he was just seeing spirits. I don't know.
Could be.
That was kind of sad.
Yeah.
I don't know what happened to that child. Probably ended up dying.
Probably.
Well, obviously everybody's dead from then. But I mean, like, at that...
What? No. No way.
Yeah.
No way in hell.
No we.
No way.
No we. Well, that was the Isle of Man. It's not a very big isle, so there wasn't really a lot there.
So did people live there?
Oh yeah, they do.
Huh.
Uh-huh.
I mean, now sure, but it's big enough to have like a community there?
Yes. It's just very remote and not really cut off, but I think the nearest metropolis would be like 45 minutes away or so.
By boat or by both?
No, I don't know. But I think there's like a bridge. I don't think it's just it's not remote.
Oh, okay.
I'm fairly certain there's a bridge.
I thought it was one of those places where you had to take like a
ferry.
A ferry. A ferry back and forth between the mainland and the Isle of Man.
I don't think so. As of 2021, they had 84,000 people.
Holy shit. The Isle of Man is 33 miles long and 13 miles wide.
Yeah.
So it would take a half hour from point A to point B across. It's got a total land area of 227 miles.
Cool.
So it's a lot bigger than I thought it was.
Yes, indeed. All right, so lowland Scotland and northern England fairies.
Oh.
Yeah. In the Anglo-Scottish border region, it was believed that elves, or fairies, lived in elf hills, or fairy hills. Along with this belief in supernatural beings was the view that they could spirit away children, and even adults, and take them back to their world of Elfheim.
Like we said before.
Correct.
Yep.
Well, they didn't say anything about adults, did they? Oh, kind of, I guess they did.
Yeah, that lady.
Oh, yeah.
And then the dude. The knight.
The knight. Often it was thought a baby would be snatched and replaced with a simulation of the baby, usually a male adult elf, to be suckled by the mother. The real baby would be treated well by the elves and would grow up to be one of them, whereas a changeling baby would be discontented and wearisome. Many herbs, salves, and seeds could be used for discovering the fairy folk and ward off their designs.
Of course.
It was also believed that to force a changeling to reveal itself, it must either be surprised into speech or made to laugh.
Oh, you gotta make it laugh.
Which is so easy for a baby.
No shit. Be like, hey, dude. Like, you just go, peekaboo.
And they giggle, yeah.
They're like, oh, it's a fairy.
Well,
Baby's got to be angry all the time. Could you imagine just a pissed off baby 24/7?
I guess we have a bunch of changelings. Good lord.
Gotta be. Just imagine the scowl on that kid's face when you're trying to make it laugh. He's just permanently just pissed.
That's bullshit!
In one tale, a mother suspected her baby had been taken and replaced with a changeling. This view was proven to be correct one day when a neighbor ran into the house shouting, "Come here and you'll see a sight. Yonder's the fairy hill all alow." In other words, the fairy hill is on fire.
Oh.
To this, the elf got up, saying, "Was me, what'll come of me wife and bairns?" and made his way out of the chimney.
Out of the chimney?
Yeah.
He was just chilling in the chimney, huh?
He made his way out of the chimney. Yeah.
Like,
so he's just like, whoop. That means Santa Claus is an elf.
All right. No. Santa Claus is too big, fat, and jolly to be a fairy. And he ain't suckling no little fairy babies either.
No, he's suckling the mothers.
No, the mothers are being suckled on.
Okay, you're confused and I love you. At Byerholm, near Newcastleton in Liddesdale, sometime during the 19th century, a dwarf called Robert Elliot, or Little Hobby of the Castleton, as he was known, was reputed to be a changeling.
What was his name?
You want to know his name?
Yeah, what was it?
Little Hobby of the Castleton.
Little Hobby of the Castleton? Oh my god. That's incredible.
He was reputed to be a changeling.
Sure. So they had hobbits back then too, huh?
Sure did. Good old Hobby.
Good old Hobby. Hobby Lobby.
When taunted by other boys, he would not hesitate to draw his large knife and dispatch them. However, being woefully short in the legs, they usually outran him and escaped. However, he was courageous, and when he heard that his neighbor, the 6'3" William Scott, a sturdy and strong man, had slandered his name, he invited the man to his house, took him up the stairs, and challenged him to a duel. William Scott then beat a hasty retreat.
Yeah, I would too, because if a little Hobby pulled out a big ass knife, I'd be like, look, do you want a box to stab me with? Also, do you want to stand on that thing? Like, you want to look me in the eye like a man? And then he'd probably go, I'm a grumpy old troll who lives under the bridge. Start singing to me, skipping and shit. I'd be like, you know what? I'm done. I'm out of here.
Oh my god.
Could you imagine?
No.
That knife was probably bigger than him, too. He wore it on his back like a sword.
Did. Absolutely.
Sorry, you're going to poke your eye out with it. You better put that thing back. Where is your mother?
We're going to talk about changelings now.
Ooh.
Because we've been talking a little bit about them.
Sure.
Let's get into it a little bit.
A little more lore on the changelings, huh?
This is what really intrigues me.
Oh, okay.
I like this. I don't know, it's just weird.
See, I know a little bit about changelings from the Outlander show.
Yes.
Which was super depressing.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I understood why they did it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't agree with it. But at the time, you know, it was just the thing you do is just sacrifice your children to the wood people.
Yeah, because they thought it was a changeling. What are you going to do? Over the years...
What are you going to do? You're going to call Hobby. That's what you're going to do.
Hobby came like 100 years later, though.
Dang it. Never mind. You got to find another person.
Because it was the early 19th century, so this is about maybe 50 plus years later.
Oh, okay.
Anyway, over the years, there have been many suspected changelings in our history. The most notable being King Charles I of England. He was reportedly rumored to have been a changeling due to his peevish nature as a child, and a nursemaid's claim that a figure appeared mysteriously at his bedside and cast a cloak over the sleeping baby's cradle.
The king.
The king.
Was a changeling.
Apparently.
Huh. Was he a good king? Like when he grew up?
I don't think so.
Not many of those were.
He had a lot of... I said we. Apparently I'm part of the English monarchy now. Oh, he was in a house. He was a steward.
He was a steward?
Yeah, like Bonnie Prince Charlie. Bonnie Prince Charlie would have been like his...
A steward?
No,
or a Stewart?
Stewart.
Oh, with a T. Oh. Isn't that somebody's name?
The
Stewart?
last name... Oh, sure.
Oh, the last name was Stewart.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay. That whole... The Stewart line.
Yes.
Okay. Okay. I thought you were saying like he's a steward, like a steward is a
name
of something.
He was not a steward, no. Yeah, he was killed.
Of course he was.
He was beheaded.
Game of Thrones and all that.
Well, yeah, this was back in the 1600s. A lot of kings and queens got beheaded back then.
Sure.
Children identified as changelings by the superstitious were often abused or murdered, sometimes in the belief that changelings could then be forced to admit their true nature by beatings, exposure to fire or water, or other trials.
So not only can you make them laugh, you can do horrific things to them and they would shapeshift.
They'd have to, yes.
Okay.
Two 19th century cases reflect the belief in changelings. In 1826, Anne Roche bathed Michael Leahy, a 4-year-old boy unable to speak or stand, 3 times in the Flesk River. He drowned the 3rd time. She swore she was merely attempting to drive the fairy out of him. The jury acquitted her of murder.
Well, when you're trying to wash the devil out of somebody, they're like, meh, makes sense. Okay.
Yeah, that's basically what they were doing.
You are forgiven. The power of Christ compels you.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah, that's really what they think is, like you were possessed with a demon. You were a changeling.
Yeah. Good Lord. People needed a hobby. Holy crap.
In 1895, Bridget Cleary was killed by several people, including her husband and cousins, after a short bout of illness, probably pneumonia. Local storyteller Jack Dunn accused Bridget of being a fairy changeling. It is debatable whether her husband Michael actually believed her to be a fairy. Many believe that he concocted a fairy defense after murdering his wife in a fit of rage. The killers were convicted of manslaughter rather than murder, as even after the death, they claimed to be convinced they had killed Changeling, not Bridget Cleary herself.
Well, he's probably all pissed off because she's sick all the time and no one's cleaning the damn house.
You can't even see that with a straight face.
I can't. Well, that's how they felt back then, you know?
Well, there's a lot of people that feel that way nowadays, too.
Well, more people back then than now, I'm sure.
In Scottish folklore, the children might be replacements for fairy children in the donations to hell. This is best known from the Ballad of Tamlin. According to common Scottish myths, a child born with a caul, part of the amniotic membrane, across their face is a changeling and will soon die. So, those babies that are born still in the water sack.
Right.
So if you are born that way, that means you're a changeling.
So if you do something perfectly natural, give or take, you're an automatic demon.
Correct. And the reason why they think that is because it doesn't happen very often.
Sure. Yeah, I understand that. But holy crap.
Yeah. It's disgusting. But what are you going to do? Again.
When in Rome.
This is not Rome.
When in Scotland.
When in Scotland.
When in Scotland, you just got to murder people just 'cause.
So, the importance of human mothers. So, this is why the changelings, it's important that they come to humans and not like animals or whatever.
Okay.
Human mothers were considered important and played a pivotal role in the fae communities. Other folklore states that human milk is necessary for fairy children to survive. In these cases, either the newborn human child would be switched with a fairy baby to be suckled by the human mother, or the human mother would be taken back to the fairy world to breastfeed the fairy babies. Human midwives were also thought to be necessary to bring fairy babies into the world.
Didn't they have the midwives of their own?
You'd think.
And why was human milk so sought after by these fairies? Did it give a more nutritional value? Did
Maybe.
it help the fairies grow better? Or grow stronger, maybe?
Maybe.
Because they have some of the human DNA in them, so they're trying to, essentially prepare the fairy for a takeover of our world or an invasion of our world or something.
I almost think that maybe they think human milk has magical, just like we believe fairies are magical, they thought we had properties like that, healing properties.
Only milk, though.
Because in a ballad from England and Scotland, the Queen of Elfland's nurse depicts the abduction of a new mother, drawing on the folklore of the changelings. Although incomplete, it contains the mother's grief and the Queen of Elfland's promise to return her to her child if she would nurse the Queen's child until it can walk. For whatever reason, they need it to be nursed for like a year until it can walk, and then... So whatever properties, they only need it for that long.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know.
Sure. They could have just been like, hey, let me just go get a glass real quick of my titty milk, and I'll trade you some fake gold for it. Fuck it.
No. They need a constant source.
A bucket, then. A big bucket.
Okay, that solves everything.
Fairies are tiny. A big bucket could last them a long time.
How are they going to keep it fresh?
They're magical.
Oh my gosh.
How do we get to Elfheim or Elfland or Fairyland or wherever?
I have no idea. I've never seen how you get there. They just come and take you.
Come and take you and you just appear in Fairyland?
Correct.
Neat. I'm assuming portals or standing stones, because those were a big thing in Scotland.
Aliens.
No, those are the pyramids. Wrong conversation.
I just thought I had the answer.
It's close. Aliens would come. They would just fucking point a light up to the sky and be like, hey, come help.
Why wouldn't the standing stones be made by aliens just like the pyramids? What makes that any more special? Standing stones, those motherfuckers are super huge.
Like the other conversations we've had or the other episodes we've done, I'm going to go back to the same thing that I always go back to. Druids. Because all of them
aliens.
Druids
were freaking aliens, my dude.
No, Druids lived in the forest and they did
Oh, they like superhuman strength and shit?
No, but they had those runes. The runes were magical.
Hmm.
They would, inscribe runes on stuff
Sure.
and, make it, curse people or whatever the fuck else.
I need some runes.
Why do you want runes? I don't want you to have runes. We just got done talking about this. That's a no-go. You're going to disappear through a stone and I won't see you for 5 years.
I need some runes.
Then you're going to come back and tell me a big old story about some Scottish man that you met in the 1700s.
If only.
If only.
I'm just kidding. I couldn't live back then. I'd die
Same.
instantly.
Same.
Well, okay. Well, I don't have a disease that would kill me instantly, but I wouldn't survive.
Also same.
Yeah. Just one last little bit. I hope I've taught you some things. I don't think I have. I think I've opened up more questions.
I got lots of questions.
Yeah. So we're living among the fairy and humans. Some stories tell of changelings who forget they are not human and proceed to live a human life. However, in some stories, changelings who do not forget return to their fairy family, possibly leaving the human family without warning. The human child that was taken may often stay with the fairy family forever. Feeling connected to a changeling's fate, some families merely turn their changeling loose to the wilderness. Some folklorists believe that fairies were memories of inhabitants of various European regions who had been driven into hiding by invaders. They held that changelings had occurred. The hiding people would exchange their sickly children for healthy children of the occupying invader. That's a good take on things. I kind of like that.
That's smart.
Yep.
You're taking somebody else's kid. Like, nah, I don't want to give you my kid. Hold on, I'll be right back.
Mm-hmm.
Huh.
Or like they didn't want to raise a child hiding, so they would put their sickly child out. They'd take the sickly child because it's going to die.
Right.
And give them their healthy one. Like, oh my God, hallelujah.
Okay. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It would be a very big burden back then to have a sick kid.
Absolutely. For sure. I mean, I feel like it's a burden anyway nowadays, and we have help and...
It's better nowadays, like you said, because of the help, the medicine that we have. It's easier to work through it.
Right. And, some children that wouldn't make it back then could make it nowadays.
Sure. But if they had tuberculosis, they were fucked.
You couldn't be... It's very contagious, so people would... That's really what it is. It's all about fear. It's all fear-based. It's just anything.
Right. A lot of stuff is, sure.
Mm-hmm.
It's quite interesting. I wonder how living among the fairies compared to, living among humans or your people.
How would we know?
Right. Especially if they don't come back.
Correct.
And I don't think any of them came back.
No.
But if your kid was sick and you left it out for the fairies, in a way it gives you hope that the kid can grow up healthy.
Right.
But what if they don't have a changeling to, take back home with them? How do they know?
Right.
Fucking odd. It's so odd. It's so weird how people just kind of grasp at straws and then take it to the extreme.
Mm-hmm. It's also a coping mechanism with, you don't want to lose a child and you want to think like maybe we can give them a better life somewhere else.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it'd be very hard to lose a kid, and anybody who does, I feel for them. I don't know how they feel, but I have empathy for them.
Absolutely, me too.
Because for me, it'd be gut-wrenching. It'd be very, very, very hard to function after that.
I agree. It would be very tough to lose a child. I can't imagine.
Neither can I.
Well, on that happy note.
But on a positive note, yeah.
I'd still love the fairies.
Like you said, I got questions. So this fairy baby, would it be human-sized?
Well, yeah. They're not going to be teeny tiny. That would be silly. So it's basically...
Would they have wings?
Nowhere have they said anything about wings.
I'm still on the wing thing.
I know you are, but nowhere did I say that they had wings.
At one point you called some of them brownies?
And that was just a name that some Scottish people called them.
I feel like that's such a racist thing.
It could be. It very well
These
could be.
These motherfucking brownies walked out of the woods.
Who knows?
Had to put a couple of them down. Where'd you shoot them at, Frank? Let's go see them. Could you imagine?
No.
Oh, God. There was a lot of ridiculous killings back then just because they could.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I would be so afraid to walk into a tavern and just get stabbed upon entering. Like, you owe me money. Like, who the fuck are you? Who are you? What do you mean I owe you money? Stab. Oh, God.
Oh, sorry. I thought you were Frank.
I was being frank, but yeah.
It just went...
You know what I mean?
Oh, wow. Okay.
Oh, good Lord.
Well, that's all I have for you tonight.
That's it, huh?
That's all I got.
That's very interesting. I feel like if we were going to do a part 2, I got a lot of questions that
We'll do
need
a part
answering.
2 and answer your questions.
I feel like there's more. There's
I'm
more
sure
to
there is.
this.
I'm sure there is.
Just got to do...
You gotta go
Just
down
got to
the
go
rabbit hole.
deeper. Oh, yeah.
Mhm.
The rabbit hole. We could do YouTube rabbit holes. Go down those. Those are insane.
Yeah.
Some rabbit holes on YouTube just take me to directions on this planet that I never even thought were possible. 20 minutes later, I'm learning about how butter's made in the 900s compared to nowadays. When I started off looking at what brownies are. Come to find out, it's just baked goods, so I don't know. What if that was it? What if some witch came out of the woods and had made these brownies, and they're like, oh my God, there are so many fairies in this basket, but they taste delicious. What'd you do with them, Frank? I stabbed them all. I made sure they weren't fairies. And I burned the basket. What'd they taste like? I don't know. I feel like the brownies back then would be hard as rocks.
Why?
Why?
Yeah.
Did they have yeast? I don't know.
Of course they did.
Well, they had cows.
What does that do with anything?
It doesn't. I'm just saying. Just stating a fact. They had Highland coos.
It's too late for this. Oh my God. I can't. Well, they have cows.
They do have cows.
Congratulations. They did have coos back then.
They sure did.
And they had goats.
They did have goats, but the cows
And
were
the ship.
important.
The shape.
Oh, the sheep.
Correct.
Oh, I couldn't understand.
I'm sorry. I have an accent.
No. Good try, though.
Thank you.
If you had to pick a fairy
No.
out of those names or those communities of fairies, which one would you rather get taken by? Because I'm opting out of the water one. Not doing that. Not living underneath the water. Fuck that noise.
Yeah, no, I don't want to be a water fairy.
Gonna wake up in an underground cavern surrounded by sea folk.
Yeah, no, thank you.
They all got pitchforks, tridents, whatever.
Oh, there's Poseidon now?
Sea folk.
You're sea folk.
What if they had just shiny...
I want to be the one that turns into the shape of a deer.
Oh, that demon one?
Yeah.
With the
that's what
dragon
Yeah,
tail?
absolutely.
Good Lord.
That's me right there.
And then you turn into
A tiny little man.
a miniature minotaur.
Yes.
With a flame crown.
Yes.
That would be
I'm
interesting.
going to slay.
Slay, queen.
Indeed. Well, thanks for listening.
Yeah, thanks for coming. We appreciate you guys. Thanks for doing this topic.
Yes. I wish I would have done a little bit more research, but time constraints and all that jazz.
Yeah, totally fine. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed learning some stuff. I definitely learned some stuff. Hobby was my favorite, and
Oh, yes.
he will always be remembered.
Good old hobby. He'll never be forgotten. All right.
R.I.P.
Who knows if he's resting in peace?
Probably not. He's probably not very far underneath the ground either, given his short stature.
He would still need to be 6 feet underground, my dude.
Would he?
It's not for him. It's for so the animals don't dig him up and eat him. And who the fuck knows how he was killed?
Probably not by a knife. Because he had a big knife. Yeah, he'd put up a fight.
You really
Obviously with William Scott.
You should totally just see what you can find out about that dude.
Hobby?
Yeah.
I'll look into it. Well, thanks for coming, everybody. Thanks for listening. We appreciate it.
And as always, I'm Elizabeth.
And I'm Tyler.
And this is the Edible Attitude Podcast.